Hello, and welcome to the Loving You interview series, conversations on self-love and self-care with well-being and holistic practitioners. My name is Rachel, and I'm your host for this interview series, and also the founder of Under the Dancing Tree School of Sacred Dance and Healing. Today with me for the first interview, I have the wonderful Jadine Hertz, who is a yoga and holistic practitioner who specializes in yoga, mindfulness and Reiki. So welcome, Jadine.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to be on here.
And it's really lovely to have you here as the first of these interviews, all about self-care and self-love. And I'm going to introduce you first a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I might get you to introduce yourself, but just sharing with our audience that I first met you on the massage table.
You did.
I did. I booked in for a chakra balancing massage, which was absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend it. So wonderful combination of spirituality and body work. And then I've also been to Jadine's yoga classes, which also I would highly recommend. They're really amazing, really nurturing, calming and grounding as well. So, Jadine, I would love to, how are you? I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit more and maybe talk about your journey and how you came to find yoga, especially. Like, why yoga? How did that come about?
Okay. So from my accent, you can tell that I'm not from Wales. I'm originally Canadian, and I moved here about 2 years ago. And I actually followed my heart here. So I met my partner, who is Welsh. I met him in Australia, and decided to follow him here to Wales and build a life here. I'm all about following the heart and living from our heart center, because it just brings so much fulfillment in our life. Now, with the yoga, it's linked to my intention of following the heart, because how I found yoga was, how old was I? I was 18, 19 was when I connected to yoga. And it was very popular in the town that I grew up in back home in Canada, because I'm from Calgary. And to be honest, I wasn't that interested in it. I'm not going to lie. I know. I had friends who used to go to it, and they say, "Oh, it's amazing, you have to do it." And I'd kind of sit there and go, I don't know. It just doesn't look like something I'd be interested in doing, because I was a very active girl, very sporty. So I was drawn to the cardio side of working out, not really the yoga side, slowing down and flowing. I didn't know that there's actually a power side to yoga, a more dynamic version to it. I always just thought it was staying in a pose for a very long time and stretching. And then it was when I started university when I was 18, because I'm born later in the year. And I experienced a lot of anxiety while I was in university. It wasn't the path for me. The reason why I went into it was because that's what you're supposed to do. I was very strongly influenced down that path and didn't really listen to myself. So I experienced very, very high amounts of anxiety, stress. I was very negative to be around. I was quite miserable, to be honest, because I was just full of this tension. And it was when I think it was when I got into second semester, and I had a huge breakdown and I had a panic attack. And that was the first panic attack I've had in my life. And my mom was there, and she turned to me and she said, "Okay, you need to do something now, because you've gone to this point. It's time to do something to work through this anxiety and the stress that you have on your shoulders." And I grew up in a family where we more chose the natural route. It's, my mom's very natural. She likes her natural foods and her natural ways of healing before she'll go to the doctor. So she said to me, she's like, "Do you want to go to the doctor and talk about the anxiety, or do you want to explore something more natural?" And I said, "I'd like to explore something more natural." And she said, "Okay." go to yoga. There's a yoga class tomorrow. I want you to get your mat, go to the gym and book in and go try yoga. I went, okay, Mom, I'll do that. So I went to yoga and I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with it. It was a vinyasa class. It was a very strong class, probably not the best class for a beginner to join, but I didn't know the difference. And I got my ass kicked. Sorry, swear word. I got my butt kicked. Yeah, it was very strong class. It was very dynamic. It challenged me in many, many ways, physically, and even mentally as well, because I noticed that I was starting to be critical towards myself. Like, wow, you can't do this. And look at this person here and look at that person. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I just felt amazing. I felt so loose and released, and just better within myself. So then I became addicted to it. I went once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. Then it was every day. I couldn't go a day without yoga. I was just hooked to the feeling that I had. And as I journeyed deeper with it, with each passing month, that's when the awareness started to come in. And that's when the shifts started to happen. And I actually healed that anxiety on my own through my yoga practice. I didn't need anything else in that time. It was just the yoga that helped me work through it. So that's my journey into yoga, and that's why I'm now a yoga instructor as well, because I want to provide people with that space to unwind and to really go within, so that they can heal that anxiety or that stress or that disconnection from their heart, which is a whole nother story.
Thank you for sharing that. No, I can really relate. I think as teachers, the reason that we teach is because the thing that we're teaching has almost rescued us in a way. It's served us and contributed to us so much. We're like, I just have to share this with the world. I want everybody else to receive, the same healing and the same connectedness that you discovered when you first had that, found that thing in the first place. And what I really love about one of the things that's always fascinated me about yoga is that it is so accessible to everybody. And people often say, oh, I can't get my leg over my head. I'm like, yeah, but there's so many different types of yoga. There's not just there is the power yoga, that some people might find that they like something that's a bit more cardio, a little bit more of a workout, but there's so many different styles, and it's not just, like you said, positions. There's all those other elements as well of breathing and mindfulness, that come into it as well. So what are the styles that you teach, and what do they offer people in particular?
I teach my basic foundation style that I teach and that I specialize in is vinyasa. Now, when I first started teaching yoga, or went to my yoga teacher training, it was vinyasa flow that I connected strongly with. Yin and restorative was very beneficial, but it didn't serve me at that time in my life, and I'll explain the different yoga styles out there. So vinyasa was the one that I connected to, but it was really interesting because when I did my training, we did connect to the other styles a bit more in depth than what I would normally do. And what I discovered in that training was that, yes, the vinyasa flows, but the stillness was really what I needed to help me grow in that moment. So because of that training, I've actually been inspired to slow the vinyasa down and to provide a gentle yoga. So it reaches out to people who are new to yoga. There's no requirement to turn you into a pretzel. That's not my intention in the class. So if you can't touch your toes, or if you can't get your leg over your head, that's okay. That's not the intention behind the class. It's absolutely fine. And it's that gentle movement to help really connect into our body, because I feel it depends on what you want from it, but I feel if you really want to bring awareness and really feel the benefits of the pose, we need to stay there for a little bit, because there are some practices where it's quick. Vinyasa is quick, Ashtanga is quick. It's linking your breath to your movement. So it's like a dance, and it's beautiful, and it shifts energy. But my intention is to dance in it, to flow, but to also find that stillness, that moment of pause, and to really take in, oh, what am I feeling here? What's coming up? What is the pose giving me right now? And you'll be amazed what comes up, because it's not just the physical side. There's emotions that will rise up as well when we come into the poses, which some people are embracive of and some are a little bit resistant of. And it's whatever works with your body. So you're really connecting and becoming one with your body and working with it to heal what you need on your mat that day. Because when you step on your mat tomorrow, you might need something different than what you want today. So it's setting that intention to really get to know yourself, to get in that space, so that if you are working with anxiety or stress, we can set that intention to let that go, or to go deeper into it so that we can heal it.
And I think we're so used to being busy and to be doing all of the time. And for those that are watching the recording, we're still in quarantine. And during it's 2042, we're still in quarantine. But this time where we've had to actually be still and be with ourselves, there hasn't been all of that external stimulation. And I think for a lot of people, it's maybe been a long time, or the first time they've actually had to sit with themselves and find that point of, or having to find that point of quiet and stillness. And so yoga, you're going there with that intention to go to that point. And I imagine that, especially in this time, but when we go back into normal life and we're going back and busy again, I hope that people will have found kind of the gifts within that stillness and want to find that again, ways.
Definitely. It's interesting, because with stillness, it's a place that we resist quite often, because it brings up the uncomfortable emotions. It's like, when you think about it, why do you keep yourself busy? It's probably because you're avoiding something that you don't want to look at. So we come into that and we keep busy. So when we do come into the stillness, again, that's what the poses bring awareness to, is, are you resisting? There's some poses where I'll see people come into it and they don't even know they're doing it until the awareness is brought, but they're literally like this. And it's like, okay, let's come out of it and then breathe and relax, let it go. Okay. And they're resisting for a reason. And it could be physically because they're really tight and they've gone past their limit in that moment, or there's something else coming up internally and it's not comfortable to be in that space. So carry on.
I was just going to say, it's amazing, that journey. I mean, from being a yoga student, that journey just in one pose. And you kind of start out and you're like, okay, I'm totally going to do this, and I don't look as great as my yoga teacher, but I think I look pretty cool in this pose. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, it's been long enough now. When's she going to stop? Please stop. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you get to that point where I'm going to jump out the window or phrase something. And then you get past that point. And then suddenly it's that moment where you're just like, and you start to breathe again, because you realize actually it's not as scary or as difficult or as wrong as, and there's all that resistance, but you do get past that point. And it's this whole journey to get to there, but then suddenly you relax into it, and normally that's the point where the yoga teacher's, okay, we're going to move now. You're like, I just arrived.
I love that you said that, because I'll bring in a little bit of yoga philosophy. I won't go too crazy into it. You'll have me here all day. But I love that you explained it like that, because that's dipping down into your bliss body. So when we talk about going within, that's what we're connecting to. But all of the stuff that came up before you went, we made it, I got into this space, that's the resistance, the blockages that are coming up. So in Ayurveda, which yoga is a part of, that's known as koshas. And the koshas you would view as sheaths So these different layers that you dip down to get to your bliss body, your state of, okay, we're here. And you can view it like a lamp. So you have the light bulb, which is your bliss body, and then you have the lamp shade, but there's layer upon layer of lampshades. So in yoga, it's dipping into your physical body. So bringing awareness to where you're holding that tension and can we let it go? And then you dip down into your breath body. So you're bringing awareness to your breath. Am I still breathing? Because 9 times out of 10, you may be holding your breath. It is a challenge. That's a practice in its own. I still do it sometimes. And then you work through that and you let that go. Okay, we dip down. And then it's our mind, what's coming up, obviously okay, I'm ready to come out now. Getting a little impatient here. This is not comfortable. And it kind of goes on and on. Mm-hmm. And then you dip into that decision, like what you said, I'm going to jump out a window now. I'm getting really angry with this. So you're making a decision based off of what's going around in your mind. And then if you can work past that and stay and breathe into it, then yeah, you'll dip into that bliss that, okay, I've let that go. Oh, it's so much better. I've let that tension go in all these different areas of my body. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's it.
It's a really powerful tool, I think, of self-care and self-love to have that space holding for ourselves, for those times to say, we don't have to be doing it right now. We don't have to be perfect right now. You don't have to be doing and performing, but, we all come to that space on our own time and all those things will come up, and it's just allowing, so having that allowance for whatever comes up and just holding that space, for you.
Yeah. And speaking to yourself kindly too, because another thing too is we are our own worst critics, right? And in yoga, I've done this definitely for myself. This has been my own journey with how I spoke to myself on my yoga mat. And then in life, I took that awareness into life. And then I see it in, in the students that attend the classes as well. You can see that. And what we do is we compare initially. We'll look over, oh, that person's doing it, so I'm just going to go a little bit deeper. Or, we start to feel a bit like, oh, I don't have the pose, I'm not doing it the right way. Am I doing it right? Because I don't look like that. And, or, with balancing, I've noticed a lot of frustration comes up with the balancing poses where someone will fall out and they'll go, oh, I can't do it. I can't balance. And, that inner dialogue starts going, telling ourselves we can't, imposing those self-limiting beliefs, doubting ourselves. And it's natural. And then we bring awareness to it to kind of go, well, what can I do to support myself here? What can I do differently so that I can connect to a more state of ease in this pose? I see that this pose is bringing up this emotion and this is how I'm feeling here. So what can I do to support myself? Can I ease off a little bit? Yeah, I can, because it makes it easier for me to be in this space. Do I need to look like that? Nope. Because at the end of the day, yoga, this is a quote that I heard from Baron Baptiste. I follow his yoga. And at the end of the day, yoga isn't about the shape that you make with your body. It's about how you feel in that shape. And that just resonates so strongly, because that's what it is. It's physical movement. And when you do come into these shapes, you are pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself, you're releasing this tension and you're stretching your body and benefiting it. But it's also here as well. What's coming up here? How are you speaking to yourself? What can you do to support yourself so that when we come into this pose, we're really coming into a space of that self-love and that self-care. And that also, it's okay to rest. That's the big thing, especially with movement. Like, the amount of times where I've been on my yoga mat and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go down a child's pose. I can do this. And it got to the point where I was like, Jadine, what are you doing? Like, what are you proving? Just relax. And there's empowerment that comes from relaxing and saying, you know what? Right now, I'm tired and I'm just going to rest. Because it's not giving up. It's not failing. You're just resting. You're rejuvenating. And that's a whole another form of self-love as well, and empowerment in that space.
Just listening to our bodies and you know, I say this to my students, you know, when we're dancing, that nothing's compulsory, and to listen to yourself first. You know, if I say something, it's not a rule. I'm not saying you have to do this, you know, and just really listen to your body, because I don't know what's going on in my students' bodies, you know, physically, what they're feeling. You know, if they're feeling like it's too much, you know, just not to push yourself, but to listen, because in the end, it's about enjoying the movement and enjoying being in your body, you know, and having that ease there.
Definitely.
Okay, so I know that you're hopefully about to launch in some way or other some mothers yoga. So I'd really love you to speak into that and to share in particular, you know, the self-care, the self-love and the nourishment that perhaps mothers need, and how yoga can answer that, what it can provide.
Mm-hmm. So I've had my eye on prenatal yoga for a long time. For a long time. And it's because it's just so knowledgeable for a mom to journey into motherhood, and to bring awareness to her body. Because when we do become pregnant, and you know, we're about to make that journey, it can be so exciting. It's like, oh my goodness, look at, I have this little baby growing inside me. It's amazing, starting a family. And then there's fear that comes up too, right? Like there's a bunch of different emotions that can come up depending on where we are in that moment and in that journey. And I think the biggest thing that comes up for mums too is really to connect to our intuition, because when you go into labor and delivery, you're going to feel really empowered if you connect to your intuition and you have that awareness of your body, and you have these tools and, you know, these different tools to say, yeah, this is what I've learned, this is what I feel is going to work for me, and I'm going to use that. And it makes you feel like you're the one who takes ownership of the room. It's like, no, I'm the one in charge here, because that's how it should be, because mom's given birth.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, the team is there to help and support, and they have their knowledge as well, which is amazing. But at the end of the day, it's mom's intuition that's going to be strongest, because she's the one that's delivering this baby. Her and this baby are on this journey together. And what's amazing about the yoga is that it's very gentle movement. So it honors the body again in pregnancy. So it helps to alleviate the discomforts that come up when we get pregnant, because there's a lot that comes up. You know, our body changes. Our organs shift and they displace and they move around, and then baby sits quite high, and our breath changes as well. We're not going to breathe as deeply. You know, swelling comes up in the body, just so many different things, right? And then there's emotions that come around that too with the changing body. So what yoga is there for is to help alleviate that discomfort. So we're keeping the body moving. You know, stretching things out, but also what we're doing is, where did it go? Yeah, I've lost my train of thought. Is connecting to embracing our changing bodies, because this is what our body is made to do, you know, when we're in this journey. And sometimes it can be hard to embrace. So it's bringing in that self-love and that mindfulness. And a lot of people think that with prenatal yoga, it's about stretching, right? Oh, let's stretch before labor and delivery. Let's get nice and flexible. No, that's not what we need. So what's really interesting is when a woman becomes pregnant, her body is more flexible than ever before, because your body releases hormones known as relaxin that helps loosen the joints and the muscles. So when you move through yoga, you're going to be more flexible than you would in your normal yoga practice.
That's the time to get into the pretzel shape.
That's the time to get into the pretzel shape. But what I have to do is I'll need to encourage moms to come out of that a little bit, so we're still supporting the foot. But for labor and delivery, it's about stamina. So it's building that strength, and connecting to the pelvic floor as well, and bringing awareness to that, because a lot of women out there, you know, some are very, very in tune and aware of their body, and some may not know much about their pelvis and their pelvic floor. and how to contract and release the muscle. So there are exercises out there that help to strengthen that muscle, to prevent urinary incontinence. But with yoga, we're focusing on relaxing it, because as you move through your labor and delivery, we need to know how to let that go as well. And connecting to poses that you can use in the birthing room, or if you do it at home, you know, moving through the poses and bringing awareness to our pelvic movements to help move baby through the birth canal. And meditation as well, to calm the nerves and to really stand strong. And yes, I can do this. My body is made to do this. And I have all of this knowledge and these breathing techniques and, you know, these meditations and this movement that I've practiced for the past, you know, however months to get to this place. So it's about empowering and benefiting in so many ways, physically and emotionally. It's a supportive and nurturing environment there for mums to come into this space and work through, you know, what they need to as they journey through. So, yes. And I'm also doing postnatal as well, so mums can be with me through the whole journey.
Oh, fabulous. Sounds like a really wonderful offering. And I know a lot of women are trying to find ways to come back to their intuition and their inner knowing and knowledge during pregnancy. I mean, there's been a huge rise or a returning to doulas, I know, in the past, few decades. And I see you very much like as one of them, a yoga pregnancy doula.
Well, I feel very passionate about it. I'd love to explore more in working with pregnancy. I just love it. Yeah.
And I do, part of me wonders, like, what is the baby thinking, when the mum's doing yoga? Because would they have that awareness that they're upside down? What's mum doing right now?
There are some babies that get quite active during yoga.
Well, I mean, I suppose the baby would benefit as well, though, from that state of calm, in that state of presence. Rather than mum being stressed and worried, I imagine they would really, feel into that, that softening.
Yeah. They do connect to it. They're very aware of what mum is going through during that time. So if mum's very stressed, baby tunes into that, and if mum is very calm, baby tunes into it. And with the meditation, there's also a breath work called bumblebee breathing, known as Brahmari breath in Sanskrit. And there's two different ways of doing it. The normal way is to buzz like a bee, to go bzzz. It's a lot of fun. But the way that I've connected to with the prenatal yoga is to hum. So you're going, and you're working with your own rhythm of breath to help calm any emotions that have risen. So especially if you're feeling stressed or angry or frustrated or irritable, to use that breath. But also it's a really good breath to use to go within. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because of the sound vibration. So I think it's after 27 weeks, I have to look into my book again, because I've just taken in all this knowledge. So I'm still digesting it all. I've just been blown away by it. I just want to share everything. But after about 27 weeks, baby can tune into the sound vibrations. They can start to hear that and feel it. And in our body, we have the energy moves, it shifts with the sound. We know that. And as you connect to that breath, your body, your energy is shifting to that, and baby's tuning into it. And then baby relaxes as well. So it's actually a breath work that I recommend for the labor and delivery as well. So mum that can tune in and move through her contractions from a state of, okay, I'm going within. If she feels she needs to connect to it during that time, everyone's different with it. So
wonderful.
It's really cool. Yeah.
I just love the thought of all the labor wards, being full of women like buzzing like bees.
Honestly,
It's like, what are they doing? What's happened?
There's a pose for it, and there's a way to get partner involved as well too. So I've done a conscious couples course working with laboring partners, so dads or mums as well. So it helps create that bond between the two, so that when they do move into labor and delivery together, they feel like they're a really strong team, and they can communicate with one another and speak to each other on the same level, the same tone, more dad or mum connecting to mum, with mum's tone, because if mum's moving through contractions and she is a little bit worked up, you don't want the partner there being like, yeah, come on, you can do it, let's be positive. She's just like, that's not her tone right now. So let's connect to her tone. but also it helps laboring partners feel like they can help, because I think when you go into the room and labor begins and mum is moving through contractions, the woman that I was training with, she was a doula, and she said 9 times out of 10 laboring partner, dad or mum would be there like, daunted, like, oh, I don't know how to help, I don't know what to do. And it starts to affect them emotionally too, right? Because they want to be there. So I've done this course as well to do to connect laboring partners. So we'll do yoga together, different Thai yoga massage techniques, communication, and Reiki as well. So that's you feel like a team going into it. Yeah, and the buzzing. Yeah. So as mum's in child's pose, she'll be buzzing, and then laboring partner can be there with their hands on her back and just rock her back and forth.
Oh, so he's like the flower. She's the bee.
Yeah, just like swaying in the wind.
Oh, no, it sounds really lovely. I'll be booking you whenever I get pregnant for sure. Sounds like a good incentive.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing.
Fabulous. Yeah, no, it's a really beautiful and really essential offering. Yeah, empowering women, in their bodies, and just choosing and claiming and standing for what's right for them, in such a place that can be really vulnerable and scary, like you've said.
Yeah, because when you do go into that space, whether you're at home or if you do go into hospital, it's kind of like a moment of, ooh, and then you can lose the power, and then everyone else in the room takes over, and sometimes women lose their voice, right? I've connected to a few women who have said they've lost their voice in the delivery room, and that they would like to connect to using that and feeling strong in their body, like, no, I know what's going on in here, and I'm telling you, this is what my intuition says, so it's amazing to have those tools and that knowledge, because when you think about it too, there's so much to learn, but it's not really taught. We have to go out and seek it, don't we? At least that's what I've experienced. Like my mom's very open when I ask her about my birth, my brother's birth, and then there's some friends who I've connected to are open about it as well, but there's not much tools out there that said, oh yeah, there's this to look at and that, and you can do this, and there's that, and we have to go out and seek it, and it's empowering when we do have that insight, because that's our body, and that's the part of our body that we should definitely feel knowledgeable in, right?
Yeah, definitely. It for me, like a lot of these tools that we're actually encouraging and sharing are, I feel, tools that women did have, that was passed from mother to daughter and grandmother, and like this knowledge that we were brought up with, and we've had this huge period of disconnect, and we're having to find ourselves again, as women, but also men as well, like you said, the birthing partners, that even thousands of years ago, I would say, probably men would have been able to tell you when you were coming on your period, the same time that you would, because they would have known and been connected to the cycles, of nature. And it's about reconnecting to that. So I don't think it's something new necessarily, but like this knowledge that we're trusting within ourselves, that is there to come through again.
Yeah, definitely. And to, to embrace that part of the journey. And it is a bit of it's almost like a taboo subject in a way. From what I've experienced, is it's not an openly discussed subject, at least from the people that I've connected to before this prenatal training. My mom is quite open, but it's kind of one of those things where I almost was like, if I just met you, I'd be like, so what was your birth like? Like some people are like, wait a minute, I need to get to talk to you about this. But it's normal for women to go through that. And I think the more knowledge we have and the more insight, it can minimize the fear that we have going into it as well. Because I know personally, I can't wait to be a mum one day. But I can't wait. Like, this much has made me broody, to be honest. But I've had my own personal fears. Like, one day when I decide to do this, there's not much that I know about it. So after this course, actively seeking all this knowledge and this insight, I'm like, yes, okay. Now I know what happens to our body. I know all these different ways to work with it and to feel empowered as we move through this. And that our body is designed to do this. Like, it's definitely designed, and to let go as well, because naturally we want to take control of the whole situation. And sometimes we just gotta let go of that control, because every birth is different, every baby is different, and to trust the process, to really connect to that trust. It's going to work out the way that it's going to work out, and to release that tension of trying to control. It's like, wait a minute, this is not what I planned, which sometimes happens. And it's okay, this is not what I planned, but what are we going to do now to work through this? And I have another exercise that we worked through that is actually, it's a lot of fun to connect to. It just makes you realize, wow, I do really try and control things. Yeah, to trust yourself.
Fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, just that reminder to surrender into the fact that our body always knows best, and it really does. It really, really does. Wonderful. Okay, so before we finish, I would like you to share your top, one favorite tool of self-care or self-love, self-nourishment. And it doesn't have to be yoga or Reiki. It can be absolutely anything. It could be grape covered chocolate, anything. What's your number one self-care thing that you love to go to?
Okay, it's very deep, this tool. It's very deep, this tool. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
must involve chocolate then.
Chocolate is amazing, yes. But I'm a deep person, and this, I'm telling you, is powerful. What it is the biggest tool that I've had for self-care and self-love, but especially self-love, is it was a homework assignment when I was going through my training, and it was to look at myself in the mirror. So it was after the shower, before the shower, whenever I went into the bathroom, as I was brushing my teeth, to look at myself in the mirror and look at myself in the eye and tell myself, I love you, over and over and over and over. I love you, I love you, I love you. And it feels weird at first. It feels really weird, because you're standing there and you're like, yeah, I'm standing here looking at myself, speaking to myself. It's a bit like, ooh, if someone comes upstairs, they're going to hear me. So I was at home with my parents, and my dad, if he walked by, he'd been like, what is she doing now? But it is very powerful. And once you do get into that, past that state, you feel it. You feel that love. You're like, oh, yes, this is nice. And you can really see yourself. You really connect to yourself. You look at yourself in the eye and you're like, wow, I was so hard on you. Or, oh, you are amazing. And it's a real breakthrough. It can get emotional. It definitely can get emotional, but it is a breakthrough. And I think it's powerful. It's just, it's a deeper tool to connect to, but it is very powerful. So that is a tool that I'd love to share, because I still do that on times where, I'm feeling a bit off balance, or I've noticed I've been hard on myself. It's like, okay, Jadine, we need to love ourselves again. Let's go to the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, it changes the mood. It does. It uplifts you. Just like, oh, yeah, I am amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to feel that, to actually feel that, instead of just saying it and still resisting it, but to feel it. And you keep going until you feel that shift.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know when it is. You will know.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know that the language that we choose, towards ourselves is very often not the best. And we're so used to, using words that are derogatory, that we, like you said before, where it can be our worst critic, really.
Yeah.
And to then start choosing to say that, you might even, when you're starting out, think, oh, this is silly, or I can't do this. But if you keep doing it, you're showing up for yourself again and again and again, and you will, I promise, I've done this as well. You'll get to that point where you're looking in the mirror and you're grinning like a hyena. You're just like, I love you so much.
Definitely.
And then you can't get enough of yourself, you'll start going past the mirror and be like, hey,
yeah.
looking good. So I invite you all to try that once you finish watching this interview, to go and find the nearest mirror and to go and share some words of love with you. If you start out small, and even you might say just saying I love you, but it's not just, it's the most powerful words that we can use. They say so much. So thank you so much, Jadine, for being interviewed for this series. It's been a real honour and really lovely to have you here joining us. Thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully soon we'll be able to be back in person, and you'll be able to join a course or a class with Jadine. You can also find her online. So below this video, I'll put her website and all the social media links. You can go and find her as well. Her Instagram is really inspiring. So do follow. I encourage you to stalk everybody in this interview series. And any questions, then do feel free to reach out as well. So thank you for being here. Our next interview is with Denise. So she'll be talking about access bars. So keep tuned for that. If you're watching the recording, then it should be right above. Fabulous. Thank you, Jadine. And hopefully see you soon.
Hopefully see you soon.